Should children, teens be full carnivore? I think they can. I don't think they need to be. If you're nose to tail, so these are the carnivores out there. If you're nose to tail, if you're going to have a kid on trying to be carnivore, you best be nose to tail. You best be grass-fed, and you best have a wide variety of meats in there and fish and seafood. Hi. Thank you. It's a stupid goal, but I wanted to have 20,000 followers like 2 years ago. 2 years, I think, that I've been going, man, I really want to get 20,000 and I really suck at this. Instagram has been a slow process, a little bit like molasses for me, but I just hit 20,000. So thank all of you for following along on the journey. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Stephanie Rimka. I'm a holistic practitioner. I'm not a physician, never claimed to be, don't want to be, so stop accusing me. Some of you hate me. You come after me and tell me I'm a drug pusher, so clearly you don't know who I am. You haven't seen my posts. Or you just tell me how stupid I am since I'm not a physician. I don't know. Love or hate me, but just troll away if you don't like it. It's okay. So I have a bunch of new people, I think because of this reel that I did where I watched the dancer people, and it's gone a little viral. So a whole bunch of new people have found me. Well, I talk about health stuff most of the time. I'm pretty entertaining when I do it, but I'm going to focus on brain stuff, mental health. I might throw in some kind of opinion about popular culture nonsense from time to time. But anyway, thank you for the 20,000 followers. Hope you stay around to get to know me, love me, hate me. Just stick around. You might learn something. So this is a Q&A from the post, I think it was Monday. I have it. I'm looking at it on my laptop, so I'm going to read some. It was too many. I was like, oh, wow. I usually, in my private groups, I do that, and I just rattle them off. I bang them off, and I just read them, and I answer people's questions in my private, courses. I have courses, you guys. You can be in private with me and even Zoom with me and stuff. Which I did some of that today with my private members, my students. But this was too much. It's a lot of questions. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to start answering some of your questions in other posts and videos. It's my dog. He's Cujo. You can hear him. But I'm just going to leave him alone. I'm going to answer some of your questions in these short reels. So there are several. Can you explain what methylation is? Can you teach about MTHFR? I have on the list. So as you can see, hang on. Okay, come here. Come here, Pookie. Come here. Come here. You're going to ruin my video. He's There's a dog. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Wow, Pookie. It's okay. He gets a little triggered by this one dog that walks by. I have to wait a second, sorry. I like to be outside. Oh, you okay? All right. It's not good for his diabetes, you guys. Blood sugar, this dog. All right, sorry about that. Wow, welcome to me. What a nightmare. So some of those questions, you can see I started a whole methylation, a methylation reel series. So if I don't answer your question, I'll probably do another one. It's just so many. So I'm trying to pick some fast ones. All right, so I'm going to just rant if I can do quick ones. How do you provide magnesium support for kids? Pretty much just like for adults, but if they can't swallow capsules, fine. So I like 2 magnesium products in particular. That's what I take. That's what I recommend to people. Magnesium Breakthrough. You can get this on my store. Hey, it'd be awesome if you buy it from me and I make a couple bucks. I also like a product called Mag Mind. So typically I have my people take Mag Mind in the morning. It's a very unique formula that helps cross the blood-brain barrier, and people come to me for a lot of focus, concentration, mental stuff, and magnesium is really important in brain chemistry and methylation processes that you guys want to know about, and it helps with a bunch of things with calming the nervous system and sleep support. So I like Mag Mind in the morning, and I like magnesium breakthrough later in the day. That's how I choose to do it. Now with kids, they can't always swallow capsules. There are some cheap powder products on the market. I don't like them. They're not good. They're mostly laxatives. So with kids, I like to go with Epsom salt baths, lots of Epsom salt. And like Epsom salt, people underdo. They put like a cup in. You need to be putting pounds in. So if you look at what it's doing for muscle recovery, it's pounds per situation. So I put 1 to 2 pounds in my own bath. So for a kid, a small child, I would be putting half a pound to a pound. So I like Epsom salt baths. I like magnesium to come through the skin. So there's also magnesium lotions. But are there some just powdered, those fizzy, like electrolyte magnesium kind of drinks? Calm is a big brand. I don't like it. It's cheap and it's full of other stuff, but is that better than them not having any? Probably. But I usually go with topicals, skin lotion sprays, bath, if the kids can't swallow any capsules yet. Okay? Can you suggest how to help with diarrhea issues on a carnivore diet? Yeah, that sucks. So usually that means people always will say, oh, one, reduce the fat content, right? Reduce how much fat you're consuming because the fat is doing that. But it's really coming because your liver is most likely is not prepared and ready. It's had a garbage diet and it's full of low bile production, and so it's not ready. There's not enough bile coming out when you eat, and the bile, the way it's just ripping through and causing the diarrhea. It's not emulsifying right. It's just bile can also cause. You can have leaky liver, and bile can cause these skin rashes people are getting when they go carnivore. They always think it's oxalates. Doesn't mean it's always oxalates. It can be bile salts. So one, I do say, well, you could reduce the fat. Like if you're packing on fat, like all this extra fat, you could look at that. I usually tell people to take a binder though. So I use binding agents. I like 3 different binders for different reasons. So I use, and you can get all of these on my store. If you guys have any issue, please let me know. You can get on my full script and you get a discount on all of this. Quicksilver's binder, it's a powder and you put it in a water, you can drink it. You can get kids to do that, right? So I would take binders. I'd take it probably before you go to bed. The other one is Systemic Formula's Bind. It's a great one. It's a nice one before bed. Another one common that we use is GI Detox. I think it's just called GI Detox. It might be a company. My bad. It's a blue bottle. It says GI Detox. So those are the 3 I use the most. But I would add a binder. Systemic Formula's Bind is a really nice formula for dealing with diarrhea or constipation. If that doesn't seem to give some support, I would probably back it off and be adding in some carbs like an avocado. That seems to be a nice choice to add in a little bit of avocado, just a quarter of an avocado when you eat, and that alone helps change, because the fiber will help until you're able to regulate this yourself. So that's how I would, depending, the details. So the methylation questions, MTHFR, you guys are seeing I'm doing reels on those. I'll probably do more talks on methylation, but that's too much to say quickly. What do you think about Botox and restyling? Is it safe? Is it safe to do every year? Interesting. Obviously, this has come up. Well, I think they're artificial toxic poisons that you're injecting into your body. Now, that being said, so it's just levels of safe. I mean, it's not good for you, right? Like, there ain't a thing natural about that. Do I know how dangerous or how safe it is? No, I don't. Plastics is not my specialty. Could care less about it. I want to be pretty for a long time too, right? Now, but I will say this. So do I think most things for beauty are worth the risk? No, I don't. If you've been injured, you're a burn victim, that's a very different story, right? To use surgery and things to repair yourself to look more like yourself. So I wouldn't do it every year. I wouldn't do it at all. I don't do it. But now let me just talk about Botox. Botox has medical therapeutic uses. Now you gotta look at your return on investment. So for some of you, return on investment to stay looking young and beautiful, you just don't care. The return on investment is really high. Botox is also used to help people with debilitating migraines, actually, that are coming from muscular issues that might be related to cerebral palsy. That's very different use, and the safety and return on investment for that, for children and adults suffering with severe cerebral palsy, and using Botox to stop the severe constant chronic spasms they're going through, very different use of Botox. Very, very different, right? Because the benefit is unbelievable. Pulmonary hyperhidrosis. Some people, the amount of sweat from that nervous system activation, they've gone for years trying many methods. And this can be a quality of life, revolutionary moment for them to get Botox treatment in their hands. Again, nothing about beauty. So is it a toxin going? Yes. Of course there's a price to pay for that. So, that's how I would look at that. Like, why are you using Botox? What's the reason for it? Will there be a price to pay for putting fillers and things in your face? Sure. Maybe will I do one under some sort? I might, but you're going to pay a price for that. Do you recommend, these are all kinds of random questions, you guys. Do you recommend conventional cancer treatments like chemo and radiation? So I look at people doing, it's really important when a person when they're diagnosed with something as serious as cancer, that they believe in whatever they're going to do is going to work. So if they don't like their doctors, they must get a new doctor. If they love that doctor, they need to, and believe that this person is going to heal them, that really matters. So I never want to undermine someone's belief system. I'm never going to tell them if they believe something is going to work. We want that effect to be going in place. Now, that being said, I can just over here look at the success rates of chemo and radiation, and they're very, very low. So I know in my mind it's not successful, and their success rate is incredibly low. And I know of hundreds of other therapies and ways of addressing the metabolic disorder known as cancer. It's a metabolic disease. Every metabolic disease can be reversed. You caused it, you can reverse it. So would I personally use chemo or radiation on myself? I absolutely would not. But that's not the same thing as how I address it with patients or even people I care about. Okay? My dad has a groin hernia for years now. He doesn't want to have it fixed surgically because he is afraid his body will reject the mesh they use to repair it. Thoughts? I don't know anybody, I don't know a million people who've had groin hernia repairs, but I know a lot of men, and every single one of them has been happy they've done it. So, not my specialty at all. I don't know what it's doing to his quality of life. There comes a point with quality of life, and we have surgery and things like that for a reason. And if you're that strict, you don't want to have any surgery or anything implanted, I get it. But I have not seen anybody have any problem rejecting what they've done with this. It's been very helpful for them. So my 2 cents, which isn't worth a lot because I don't do that for a living. What is your professional opinion on microdosing shrooms? I love it. Let's talk about psychedelics. So I don't know. Facebook deleted my ketamine interview of my friend, Dr. Naveen Thomas, of Clarity Psychiatrics. He was here, now he's in Boulder. So I've done several interviews about ketamine. I am, in general, relatively pro psychedelic medicines. I think the potential in brain repair and brain restoration is extraordinary. I think the potential in trauma healing is extraordinary. Set and setting mean everything to me. Using mushrooms as a, just a fun time journey with friends in a forest. Okay, I mean that's fine or whatever. Is that the same as using it medicinally? No, but I don't know the quality of shrooms. Like I don't really do drugs or no drugs very much, to be honest. I mean, I know like the thing, so I know what it's doing. It works on mushroom. Psilocybin is dealing with the serotonin, a receptor agonist. I forget the name of it. It's stimulating, and it increases the ability of how the brain works, like brain entropy, and it turns off the default mode network, which is a really important thing I deal with brain imaging. So by increasing the way the brain its networks talk to each other, and stopping the default mode network simultaneously, you kind of cause this whole novel new way that neural connections can happen that normally don't happen. And the brain is like very capable on shrooms of making very radical different decisions about the way it sees the world. So people can have, especially when working with a clinician, radical changes in the way they make associations with things that happen to them and the way they see the world and their place in it. So you can take a victim, martyr, worry, pessimistic person who thinks everything's going to be awful and really end up shifting that in a massive way to like the world is a kind place, and I can do things and make a difference in the world. You can do that. So I'm a fan, so I'll leave it at that. Okay? And especially in microdosing in shrooms, microdosing of acid, microdosing of things, lots of potential for mood regulation, for increased cognitive performance, for getting things done as a way to kind of hijack or bypass your way into flow states with floods of neurotransmitters where you're going to hyperlearning. I obviously don't want people to become dependent upon these things and not know how to access the genius of them, of who they are without using plant medicine. But yeah, I'm a big fan of using psychedelics to repair brain stuff. It's not a question, but I will say I especially love ketamine for Alzheimer's. Okay. Let's see. Can we deal with uterine polyps without surgery? Yes, you absolutely can. You should look for holistic gynecologists, such as Dr. Cindy Hall. She's on here in Colorado, a friend of mine. Dr. Lita Harris of Nurturing You in California. I imagine Dr. Courtney Hunt, MD, she's on here. I don't know her, but she's a holistic gynecologist who's low carb and ketosis. She's on here. Dr. Fit and Fabulous, Jamie Seaman, she's a gynecologist. So there's lots of these holistic nutrition, diet-based docs who can help you with these things. Chinese medicine might be really good with that too. So everything. I've seen all kinds of bizarre things reabsorbed and handled like in ways sometimes you just can't. It's like, okay. I mean, surgeons are constantly like, well, that shouldn't have happened, but glad it did. So yeah, you can, your body can, it made it, it can reabsorb it. That's just the end of it. But you need help. So you just don't try to do it yourself, right? Somebody should be monitoring, taking pictures, and if you need surgery, you need to get the damn surgery. Should children, teens be full carnivore? I think they can. I don't think they need to be. I don't think there's anything, if you're nose to tail, so these are the carnivores out there. If you're nose to tail, if you're going to have a kid on trying to be carnivore, you best be nose to tail. You best be grass-fed, and you best have a wide variety of meats in there and fish and seafood. So you gotta have, and because that way they're gonna get full complement of vitamin A, B12, choline. Obviously they'll get a ton of methionine, lots of glycine, lots of that's needed. I'm not sure if they'd get enough zinc. I might still want to be supplementing some of these kids with zinc. I might still want a little bit of C in there. I think it's fine if it's done in a very fresh is best natural environment, but most Americans do things in a dirty, cheap, fast way, so it would concern me a little bit, because it's not like they're not, living without electricity and living connected to nature and not living in lights and following all of that thing and not having the stress of Western living like, the Hudza and the Maasai are doing, is not like living in America trying to be carnivore. That's just the reality of it. And there's a lot of psychosocial things. But obviously, low, like a high carnivore, animal-based, ketogenic, low plants, seasonal, cyclical, I think would make more sense. But it could be done, absolutely can be done well. If it's done right. It seems like it'd be a little bit of work, and I think these social implications might be tough. So I think they need, some leeway with that. but you got to make sure there's organs and salmon roe and oysters and liver. You got to get all that in addition. People, if you just want to be eating chicken all the time, that's a problem. Let me see. I have a bunch. I kind of highlighted some. Oh, this is an interesting one. Nutrition, thinking of kids. Nutrition advice for tandem nursing, newborn and toddler, all while trying to heal postpartum. Well, first of all, mama, good on you. So basically what's saying is this woman has a newborn, but she also has a toddler, and she's breastfeeding both of them and trying to just recover, heal. I don't know, postpartum. I'm assuming that's a vaginal birth, not a C-section. So, yeah, I mean, one, you just need to keep nourishing yourself like nobody's business. You need a lot of choline, because the babies need choline, which is the highest is like in eggs. Second is probably, I think, liver. You need, definitely, I want you to have a lot of glycine, which is like chicken skin and chicken bones or bone broth, okay? So definitely be getting some bone broth. I think bone marrow is really important. Omega-3, DHEA, EPA is really important. So, and we want it in the least metal toxic way. So I want you to have a really potent DHA omega-3 form, which would be salmon roe. It's a phospholipid form. It's going to cross your blood-brain barrier, and it's going to get in there and get in that milk real easy, versus you could eat fish once a week or something like that. Like, I'm not totally worried about like that, but there is quite a bit of heavy metals and stuff in fish, so I wouldn't want you having a ton of it, to be honest. So sardines would be amazing because you're getting bones in there, but you're getting a lot of calcium in that. So I want calcium. So you could actually grind up eggshells, eat eggs, and you can grind up those shells, put them on a powder in your food, and flood yourself with calcium. Sardines, anchovies, eating them whole, you get the bones, a lot of calcium. Salmon roe, that's fish eggs. You can get it from my store if you want. This would be a thing for the mom. Also, hemp. Cannabinoids are really important for you and the baby. So the most concentrated cannabinoid receptors in the human body is in the woman's uterus. So there's tremendous amount of cannabinoids that you're making to nourish the uterus requires to make the baby, and the most concentrated place of cannabinoid food on earth is human breast milk. So that breast milk coming out of you, it should be full of cannabinoids. So I would have some hemp oil. I would get a quality hemp oil if you need one. I've been using this for patients for years. I have a few brands that you can do. You should have a little bit for yourself. I would also, I want animal-based meat diet, in case you haven't figured that out. So first thing, everybody's way of eating, prioritize protein, and that protein should be animal, complete, nice fat in it, as grass-fed and toxin-free as possible that you can afford. Have a variety of red meat, fish, shellfish. If you're not allergic to these things, you should be eating them. That should be the priority of your diet. Most women that are pregnant and nursing want dairy. I know I did. It was no joke. So, I'm not going to try to stop you from eating cheese or dairy if you're liking it, as there's a lot of things in there, right? So, but I would prioritize some organs, liver in particular. Definitely egg yolks for the choline, liver for the B12 and the A. Those are really important to me. And for you, don't be worried about trying to lose weight or any of that stuff. It's not the time for that. You nourish yourself, but feed yourself a lot of protein and fats. High fatty carbs if you want them, like avocado, stuff like that. Okay, I hope that those are my big ones that I can think of for you to be making high quality breast milk and full of DHA and endocannabinoids and stuff like that. Another supplement that you could use is Ion Biome, which was formerly Restore, that Zach Bush's thing that is going to help block glyphosate from coming into your body from food you eat, which will also help block it from going into your breast milk for the kids. So it's going to be lowering the toxic load. You can even put a drop of it like on your breast before the kids, especially the newborn, and they'll get a little bit of it, right? Just a little bit in the system. So Ion Biome is, I would have everybody in the house on that. I feel like I'm missing something for you. something that I've either said it, I'm forgetting, or I think I said it. I don't know, but I hope that answered, I hope you're watching. And it may be answered with this one. So my daughter has severe corn and shellfish allergies. It includes synthetic vitamins. Our daily struggle is for her to get the right nutrients and whole foods daily. We use at Your Superfoods, and we juice also. Can you list 3 foods you would say to eat daily if someone was in danger of malnutrition? That's a good one. So I don't know the age of this. So corn is a toxic poison for everybody, so that's fine. Shellfish is a little bit of a bummer. I'm not familiar with the Your Superfoods at all. So what I just said to the last person, the first things, prioritizing the protein matters. You gotta remember, humans are animals that are made, all of the structure, everything you see is protein and fat. It's animal protein and animal fat. There's like no carbohydrates that are doing this. And it's a bunch of minerals. And all of that with these compartmentalized things of bizarre structured gel water create electricity and make a human. The carbs are not it's very little bit that we deal with them, right? And you don't need to eat them. But, meat, I'm going to go with that first. And I'm going to probably say, I don't know if I can say 3, liver. So you only need an ounce a day. If you don't want to eat that, you can just take it in a freeze-dried capsule. We used to eat liver once a week, but kids are not getting, and the lack of liver and egg yolks, I think, are a huge problem with why we're seeing more methylation problems and more histamine intolerance now. I think we're seeing methylation problems for a number of reasons increase, and histamine problems for a number of reasons increase. But something that we've taken out of the diet for a long time is liver and eggs. We've demonized that. So I would like egg yolks, liver, meat, I said already, and I'd probably go with salmon roe or sardines. So I want a fish, a low heavy metal fish, and that could be salmon roe, caviar, or like sardines or anchovies. Super omega-3 brain development, eye development, and vitamin A. Okay, a little vitamin D's in there too, I think. So shellfish should not be a problem with sardines and shouldn't be a problem with the caviar roe. Okay, that's what I would, if I got to go down to kind of 3. And you don't need a lot of those, every day. Not a lot, but it not having it daily for weeks, months, and years leads to disease. For teenagers and children, how long have we been doing this? Okay, for teenagers and children with ADHD, what supplements do you recommend and the dose? So that's really more of a patient question. What comes up for that, and I still wanted to answer it, is it ADHD or is it something else? More than 50% of the ADHD I saw walk into my office was not ADHD, and kind of the standards are somewhere between 40 to 60% of all ADHD is not ADHD. You have to remember the majority of ADHD diagnoses are given based upon a checklist coming from teachers and parents and have nothing to do with lab testing or diagnostic brain imaging. Very few people even go ahead and get the $3,000 psychological testing, which still isn't even that accurate, okay? ADHD looks just like anxiety. The majority of ADHD that comes into my office is actually an anxiety disorder, at least 50% of it. Another 30 to 40% of it are sensory processing disorders. And I've seen many times people diagnosed from their doctors, physicians, and on a script, and that ADHD is actually a seizure disorder or a dissociative disorder. Happens all the time. So one, I would want to know, is it really ADHD? Because just because somebody can't pay attention doesn't mean they have attention deficit at all. Okay, I'd want to know nutrient deficiencies. I want to know, is it a misdiagnosis? Is it an ear problem? Is it an eye problem? Is it is it anxiety? Really, there's a lot of that. Is it coming from the mouth? Believe it or not, attention deficit can come from a high palate, causing sensory problems. So there's a lot more at play with that. So I just don't puke out supplement suggestions for a diagnosis because I don't trust the diagnoses the majority of the time. I want to know that I know that I know, and I want to see the brain imaging, and I want to see that it is. Okay, that's what it is. And by the way, if you have ADHD, there's at least in my field, 13 to 15 subtypes we all kind of recognize, and they're different. You don't train them the same, you don't treat them the same, you don't supplement them the same. So, sorry to be non-specific, but you can't dump them in a group and just say that. Now, that being said, some things are really important. B vitamins are really important. Zinc is really important. Fatty acids, the essential fatty acids, fish, and methionine. I want to see, is it a methylation problem? If they're trying to go vegetarian, that's a nightmare. I stop that immediately. I need a lot of methionine from meat. So I have to kind of see some of those basics. I want to see what zinc looks like, what copper looks like. I need to see what the fatty acids, omega-3 situation looks like. Are they methylating okay? That's how we approach that. Okay? So you got to know, is it really that, or is it just the zinc deficiency? Because that's real common, especially in boys. Let's see if there's another one that was easy. All right, so most of these are like really long questions that I think, like perimenopausal men, women, and hormones and weights. A lot of weights and women with that. So like those are longer, and I probably will do any weight stuff. I think I'll leave it in that. Oh, here's an easy one. Can skin elasticity and collagen, saggy skin, be reversed in this way of eating? I'm assuming you mean carnivore. A lot of it can. Absolutely. I would also be looking to add red light therapies and various light therapies, so you can get red light panels. Sunlight helps, has red light in it. Remember that morning, AM, sunrise and sunset, it's full of red light. It's free. But the red light panels, you guys have seen that. I sell those on my website too. I use EMR Techs. If you want to use my website, I make a little 10% commission or something. I like those. They're more affordable than Juve or Red Rush. More affordable and actually higher quality. Guy out of Canada makes them on here. And so that's just the panels. You can put them everywhere, but that helps with different places. They actually have even like at med spas you can go to, and they got whole things they could put on and laser things that will help with that. So there's a lot that could help with saggy skin. Autophagy helps a lot. Actually, fasting helps a lot with that. So if you can get to the place where you can start doing some extended fast, some extended water fast, and even some, short dry fasts, helps tremendously with your body eating up all of that excess stuff. I don't know the amount of saggy skin we're dealing with and how young you are, but there have been some people that, some of this has some epigenetic controls that are just, some people are a little bit luckier on that. But yeah, you can do that because you get a lot of collagen. I think a lot of carnivores are not getting as much glycine as they need, though. I think that might be a missing piece. So we get a lot of methionine, we get a lot of amino acids, we get a lot of methionine, but we don't get enough glycine because people are not eating as much chicken skin. They're not eating bones the way we used to. So bone broth and bone marrow are really important, and I think it gets neglected in the community. So you need that. And if you want to take a collagen supplement, good, take it. I've started taking one again. Okay. Somebody asked a question. Does living in cold climates negatively affect living compared to warmer climates? Well, that depends. I mean, your sunlight situation sucks. But you get cold exposure. So you can get, your immune system, if you actually allow yourself to do the cold thermogenesis and go through that exposure, it can be extraordinary. A lot of it comes down to, your mitochondrial genetics a little bit. You take people who are equatorial, you take, Africans, black folk with mitochondria with the L haplotypes, and you move them to Norway, and it's a shit show for them. It's disastrous because those mitochondria need a tremendous amount of sunlight that they just cannot get at that place. They've got to, if they don't travel down, they gain weight more, they get insulin resistant faster, depression sets in. So it just depends on how you look at, like the northern, you have sunlight deficiency issues, but if you're eating the cold water fish like crazy, you compensate for it with all the sick omega-3s. You have a different buffer system, and you should have a tremendous amount of darkness. The hours of darkness up there would be, it increases your melatonin like crazy. So your melatonin levels are going to be through the roof compared to somebody who's equatorial, and that is a major antioxidant that's cleaning you up all night. Problem is we don't live in rhythm with nature anymore, and you're having light pollution all the time. So you're never really getting darkness, and you're never really getting sunlight, and you're probably not even fishing, and you're not eating real shit that's in your ocean right there. So you're kind of screwed, right? Does that make sense? So some of it is your genetics of where your mother has come from, your mother's line, the maternal haplotypes of your mitochondria. That matters. You know, I'm deep African. I don't need to be in the north. I'm done. I don't want to. My skin is real light, but not my mitochondria are black as hell, and they don't like it up there. Sorry, I like heat. Okay, that's not going to change because they're running my show. So it depends. If you leverage that cold though, man, look at Wim Hof. Look at what those guys up there in Poland and Iceland, what they're doing, you know, because they're leveraging the gift of cold that's there. They embrace it. The gift of heat, you embrace, you know, you live in rhythm with the nature of where you are. Oh shit, Arctic meat eater. That's a great question. I don't really know. When is the best time to get sun if you live in a place with 24-hour sunlight? I'd have to look that up. I don't know that. What the rays, what it's like with up at that extreme. Yeah, you'd have to look that up. Dr. Jack Cruz may have already in some of his blogs talked about that, but I'd have to look up the angle. You'd have to look up when it's infrared, when maybe you get the app D-Minder. The D-Minder app, there's an app on the phone, and it tells you when the UV for where you are. So that might be cool to get to look at. It'll tell you the UV index, and I don't know if it shows you infrared. Normal situations, the early morning is a lot of infrared A, and then as the time at the first hour, time goes on, the UV, you know, comes, and then it goes away, and then the infrared, you know, again at sunset. I don't know. I don't think I can handle it. Let's see if there's anything else. Best time to drink bone broth, whenever the hell you want it. How about that? When your body says, I want bone broth. Best time is when you want it. Not when the app tells you. Okay. So how about that? Whenever you want to drink it and it's delicious to you. Okay? Listen to yourself. Listen to when you're thirsty. Listen to when you're hungry. Follow those signals. You don't need to follow anything else. I think I'll leave it at that.